The hurt in her voice surprised me. She was really concerned, almost like she cared about me. "I don't trust your father," I said. "You should not," she agreed. "You should have to trick him. But you cannot take the prize directly. You will die." I chuckled. "Then why don't you help me, pretty one?" I am afraid. Latin will stop me. My sisters, if they found out, they would disown me." "Then there's nothing for it." I stood up, rubbing my hands together. "Wait," the girl said. She seemed to be agonizing over a decision. Then, her fingers trembling, she reached up and plucked a long white brooch from her hair. "If you must fight, take this. My mother, Plilione, gave me this. She was a daughter of the ocean, and the ocean's power is within it, my immortal power." The girl breathed on the pin, and it glowed faintly. It gleamed in the starlight like a polished abalone. "Take it," she told me, "and make a weapon of it." I laughed. "A hairpin? How will this slay Latham, pretty one?" "It may not," she admitted, "but it's all I can offer, if you insist on being stubborn." The girl's voice softened my heart. I reached down and took the hairpin, and as I did, it grew longer and heavier in my hand, until I held a familiar bronze sword. "Well balanced," I said, "though I usually prefer to use my bare hands. What shall I name this blade?"
"Anaklusmos," the girl said sadly. "The current that takes one by surprise. And before you know it, you have been swept out to sea."
Before I could thank her, there was a trampling sound in the grass, a hiss like air escaping a tire. The girl said,
"Too late! He's here!"
I sat bolt upright in the Lamborghini's driver's seat. Grover was shaking my arm.
"Percy," he said, "it's morning. The train stopped. Come on."
I tried to shake off my drowsiness. Dahlia, Zoe, and Bianca had already rolled up the metal curtains. Outside were snowy mountains dotted with pine trees, the sun rising between two red peaks. I fished my pen out of my pocket and stared at it. Anaklusmos, the ancient Greek name for riptide. A different form, but I was sure it was the same blade that I'd seen in my dream. And I was sure of one thing else, too. The girl I'd seen was Zoe Nightshade. Chapter 12. I Go Snowboarding with a Pig. We'd arrived on the outskirts of a little ski town nestled in the mountains. The sign said, "Welcome to Cloudcroft, New Mexico." The air was cold and thin. The roofs of the cabins were heaped with snow, and dirty mounds of it were piled up on the sides of the streets. Tall pine trees leaned over the valley, casting pitch-black shadows through the morning that was sunny. Even with my lion-skin coat, I was freezing by the time we got to Main Street, which was about half a mile from the train tracks. As we walked, I told Grover about my conversation with Apollo the night before, how he told me to seek out the Nereus in San Francisco. Grover looked uneasy.
"That's good, I guess, but we've got to get there first."
I tried not to get too depressed about our chances. I didn't want to send Grover into a panic, but I knew we had another huge deadline looming, aside from saving Artemis in time for the Council of the Gods. The general had said that Annabeth would only be kept alive until the winter solstice. That was Friday, only 4 days away. And he'd said something about a sacrifice. I didn't like the sound of that at all. We stopped in the middle of town. You could pretty much see everything from there. A school, a bunch of tourist stores and cafes, some ski cabins, and a grocery store.
"Great,"
Dahlia said, looking around.
"No bus station, no taxis, no car rental, no way out."
"There's a coffee shop," said Grover.
"Yes," Zoe said, "coffee is good."
"And pastries," Grover said dreamily. "And wax paper."
Dahlia sighed. "Fine. How about you two go get us some food? Percy, Bianca, and I will check the grocery store. Maybe they can give us some directions."
We agreed to meet back in front of the grocery store in 15 minutes. Bianca looked a little uncomfortable coming with us, but she did. Inside the store, we found a few valuable things about Cloudcroft. That there wasn't enough snow for skiing, the grocery store sold rubber rats for $1 each, and there was no easy way in or out of town unless you had your own car. "You could call for a taxi from Alamogordo," the clerk said doubtfully. "That's down at the bottom of the mountains, but it would take at least an hour to get there. Cost several $100s." The clerk looked so lonely. I bought a rubber rat, just to make him cheer up a little bit. Then we headed back outside and stood on the porch. "Wonderful," Dahlia grumped. "I'm gonna walk down the street, see if any other shops have a suggestion." "But the clerk said—" "I know," she told me. "I'm checking anyway."